I'm Eric.
And I'm Steve.
Wallet Relief.
Pauper to Power.
Let's talk about it.
Hey there, fellow Planeswalkers. Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, episode 17. So we've got some pretty interesting topics today. First, we're going to start off with Wallet Relief. So, we were kind of, in the previous episode, we talked a lot about, like, wallet fatigue, how we were being hit with product over the head, like, left and right every 2 seconds.
Yes.
Now it seems like we're in a little bit of a lull, which is nice, until we hit April, as we saw.
Yep.
The next thing that's coming up is going to be the Masters 25, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know how you feel.
I know the one thing I keep thinking about, and we talked about this as well, is what will this entail? We feel that Iconic Masters wasn't really iconic. What does Masters 25 mean? Like, what are they going to do? It could be anything. Who knows?
Somebody made a comment the other day about, I hope it's not like just a whole bunch of like Savannah Lions and just terrible things that no one actually wants to play, but are nostalgic. You know, I hope it's things that are good that are nostalgic.
Yes.
That's what we're really after there.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when you think of a Modern Masters or Eternal Masters, like, that's a little bit easier to guess about. I have no idea. I would say, yeah, Shivan Dragon. You know, that would be iconic. You know, we didn't see it.
Well, and that's really where those things should have been, too.
Right.
You know? And
that's why I think M25 might have been, we've said it, it'd be better dissolved a little bit into Modern Masters 3 and a little bit dissolved into Masters 25. Time will tell. I think it's March 16th is that release day.
So do you think with this, I mean, since Rivals of Ixalan just came out last week, or it was last week. Last week. I mean, that's a pretty big gap. I mean, that's, what, a month and a half, something like that?
The 19th to the 16th of... 19th of January, 16th of March.
So, I mean, that's a pretty good relief point for players, because as we were talking about before, like, like, things were getting hairy.
Commander Anthology into Commander decks into... I think there was a dual deck in there, and then Unstable, Iconic Masters, and Ixalan. Like, all in the like, holiday, fall, winter, you know?
Which is kind of funny, because I would have thought this would have been the year to do all that, not, like...
Who knows? I mean, aren't they... I've heard... Usually don't they announce all the new stuff, like, in the springtime?
Yeah.
So we might find out that there's, like, a million things coming down the pipe at the end of summer and into fall and Christmas.
I wonder what, like, our anthologies will be like this year. Like, a collection of, like, the 5 best anthologies? Like, Commander and Elves and, you know, so on and so forth. Like, it's interesting to speculate on those things. And, you know, with the addition of, like, for example, the core sets coming back, really cool. I'm excited about that. It's kind of funny. I'm really excited about that, as almost as equally as, like, Dominaria, just because I like core sets. They're a nice little breathing room.
Yep.
As we've talked about before as well. I'm curious as to what's going to go in that set. I'm hoping just a whole bunch of, like, cards that need reprints that could be played in Standard. Like, somebody was saying that they really need to throw, like, Lightning Bolt and Dominaria. And it's just like, I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll see. It depends on what's going on as far as, like, obviously we'll be out of the whole red, you know, deck wins at that point, hopefully, which they'll probably just create a new red deck that wins.
Yeah, most likely.
You know, going off the bannings that just happened a little while ago with Ramming Up Red and all that good stuff. I find that people are still playing that deck. You know, I talked to Seth a little bit, and he's like, yeah, they're just rolling on with it. Same with Energy. As far as, like, playtesting with Merfolk and stuff like that, I've seen a few people kind of flub on it. As far as what I've heard from, like, the local metas around here. You know, this is just 1 week, so I can't really base anything off of it. But there's so much board wipe, kind of like things that you can just sideboard in this set right now, in the last couple of sets, that actually Merfolk really aren't doing as good as everybody thought they were going.
You're talking like Jade Light, Ranger.
Like the Kumena thing, and like,
sure.
Yeah, it looks really punchy and everything until you realize the, I guess, cards that are counteracting it. Because, I mean, you've got, like, cards that cost 3 that give everything -2/-2. I mean, that can take out your entire board if you don't have enough lords.
Folks,
So.
Yeah, and, like, you think of, like, you'd ask, do people still play it? I think yes. I think people have kind of shifted. Like, I forget, was it you who was telling me that, like, Mardu made a show?
Yeah, Mardu Vehicles did really well in the last, I'm not sure what tournament it was, but it was a big one, and they pretty much took the cake. I think they won, and I think most of the decks in the top 8 were Mardu decks.
Yeah. And, you know, I think Ramen Up Red, or, you know, whatever it's called now, is, you know, it's like you said, red deck wins will always have a thing.
Which I like.
Yeah, I think that's good. Archetypes are good.
Well, it's generally like a budget deck. It's not always, but generally it's a budget deck, so it kind of like gives people a floor to get in on it.
Yes.
Kind of with that, going, tying it into our main topic, is just like, do you find, or I would think people are a little bit more like lax on like the cards that they're buying right now, just because it's just like, oh, now we don't have to worry about trying to compete with energy. We don't have to worry about trying to compete with, Remnant Up Red as much. Now we can kind of spread out a little bit and play with these new cards. Commander already went from like $25 to $20. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to like $15 before long.
Yeah.
People are, like I said, they're just finding out the card's not as crazy as they thought it was, which it still is crazy, believe me. It's still amazing, but there are a lot of answers for it right now. And honestly, I don't even know any of the other archetypes besides like vampires and vehicles and stuff like that. Yeah. And who knows?
I think it'll take, like, it always seems like a month out is when things really get figured out. Like, I think of like the Emrakul stuff that happened with like Eldritch Moon and like, I guess it's the Pro Tour or whatever, where they've been able to brew for a month and they kept things secret, and then they kind of show the world, and then like 4 or 5 decks get established there. So yeah, I think right now, being a week out, it's a little too early. I think we're still definitely in the price adjusting phase. Like, yeah, I mean, next week I think we'll see like the true value of Commander, as far as for 1 week it might have stormed and like really surprised some people, shot up in price, but this week people might be saying everybody's going to be playing Commander, like it could easily go down, you know, so.
For those Commander players, I hope it does.
Yeah.
Because I had to buy one at $20 and it was just like, that's just for the challenge that we're going to do tonight. Yeah. But, like, as far as, like, card values, I watch another YouTube channel that he basically covers a lot of, like, what's happening as far as the market goes. And for the most part, I've seen things going on a huge downtick. Like, there's always that, like, oh, I got to get these cards, Oh, they're not as good as I thought they were going to be. Now I got to sell these cards and blah, blah, blah. That's happening a little bit, but there still are a few standout cards. Like, for some weird reason that, well, I know exactly why it is, but the Sun card, whatever that artifact is,
Immortal Soul,
Immortal Sun, or whatever it is,
Immortal Sun,
is still like way up there at like $7 or $8, and it's just like, come on, I need it for EDH. I need like 20 of them. Come on. But I guess people are trying it, which totally makes sense. I would too, but that to me is definitely an EDH card. I mean, I guess I could see it being in like a 2 of as
standard or modern sideboard or something.
But I mean, really,
I don't know.
Same with like the I can't even think of it. The Gateway.
Azor's Gateway.
Yeah, Azor's Gateway. A lot of people are trying that one out too. Yeah. It's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's not even worth it in my opinion.
I mean, I'll definitely put myself in the skeptical category of that one. Like, if you can do it, show me, because that'd be cool. But it's like, oh my gosh, maybe in standard if there's not like land destruction or good artifact destruction or something. But yeah, who knows?
So anyway, March we've got Masters. April we've got a few things coming up. We've got the challenge decks coming out. Then we've got dual decks, Elves versus Inventors, which I think will be interesting. And like we already
I think those came out the same day.
Yeah, so that's why we're kind of seeing like a big block there, and then Dominaria, and then Corset. And like you said, that's all we've got planned out so far. So yeah, it's looking a lot lighter than what we had been looking at, where it's just like we had like a huge wall. I mean, it went like 2 pages, I remember, and it was just like insane.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, like, I think if, Modern Masters, I thought that they were going to be cheaper, but they're not. They're $10 a pack. Still 24 packs, I believe. Challenger decks, we don't know. Hopefully $25. There are going to be 4 of them, from what I understand. So that, if you want to get each of them, that's pretty good. Elves and Inventors.
Have to do a morph into Commander for those for sure.
Yeah, or at least a few of them. Elves vs. Inventors should be cheap, $20. Dominaria, again, 100 some bucks, depending on where you can pick up a box of that. And Corset back down to 100 there. So, like, July is the, 7th month? So, like, 6 months from today, which is the 25th of January, like, for 5 products, that feels a little bit more tame. And sure, a few of them are all in April, but a lot better than one in August, one in September, one in October.
Well, more than one. I mean, there was times where we were hitting like 3 in one month and then 2 in the next month, and it was just like
too much.
Come on, guys, we can't afford all this. I don't want to buy all this. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So we'll see what's like, but at least a little bit easier there,
Yeah.
I'd say.
So moving on past wallet relief, we're moving on to our next topic here, and that's Pauper to Power. What does that exactly entail, Eric?
So we're trying to upgrade the channel and do a little bit better than Tide Pod challenges. But the whole idea, this is your idea, right?
Yeah.
And let's give a little bit of background. I think this is kind of neat too.
Yeah, we at CollectorMania, we've been trying to run this league for like a million years.
Probably like 2012.
Yeah. Will, one of our friends, actually pretty much came up with the original idea, and that was to start everybody off at an even playing field in like a massive league, like 20 players, something crazy. And you all essentially start with like a collective card pool, and you have to like buy cards with points that you earn at the end of each game in order to upgrade your decks. That way it kind of gives you the satisfaction and like the drama, I would say, of like, I need 5 points. I just need to win this game to get my actual commander, because right now I'm stuck back at like monocolored baloney,
Yeah. I think we were going to start with like antiquities and legends, like
something
4/4
absolutely
swamp
terrible.
walk, sack me unless you pay 6,
Which I think that idea is great. I think it's a little bit harder to implement than we ever thought it would be. Just having the card pull, first of all, especially for like a large group like 20-some people, is already ridiculous. So we're taking that idea and we're forming it into something that we can actually use on our channel, because, obviously this has become a lot of our priority at this point. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to start from Pauper, because Pauper's really hot right now. That's one big reason we're starting there, but also just because it sets the ground floor at like a $25 budget or something like that. So you're going to start with building a Pauper Commander deck, which entails you using one uncommon creature. Doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be legendary, doesn't have to be anything. Nothing really specific there. And then a 99 card deck of common cards. So very basic, They're probably going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I think for that first game, or maybe 2 or 3, we're actually going to lower the life total to about, probably 20, 25, something around there.
Yeah.
That way we're not there for 3 hours grinding out like, oh, I hit you with a 1/1,
Yeah.
So anyway, the idea there is that, once again, we all start on an even playing field. The next week, and if you guys have seen the document pop up, you can read it all if you want to. The next week, you actually get to upgrade to Peasant. So you take the points that you earned from the previous game. So say, we'll get to that in a second. You earn like 12 points or something like that. Now you can spend those points to start buying upgrade cards, like uncommon cards, and then it kind of spirals into its own thing. We could actually probably just read you our entire list here. That might be an easier way to do this than me trying to ramble off and explain it.
You did a good job, just talking about what the deck starts out as. The rules, of course, there are certain, if you don't know about Pauper, there are certain uncommon creatures that are banned as your commander.
Yeah.
Like, I think, isn't Bloodbraid Elf one?
Yeah, Bloodbraid Elf is one of them. Zorius Guildmage is one of them. There's a few that just are maybe a little bit too strong.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. There's got to be a ban list pretty much everywhere.
And then from there, like you mentioned, we do this over a number of weeks, or I guess a couple months, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to do one video a week, but in like theory, if you were doing this like as part of your play group, you might do it over weeks instead of months, just because it's going to take us a while. But we're looking to develop a series for the channel. Essentially, we'll do, Pauper to Power series, or season 1, Pauper to Power season 2.
Right.
And I think it'll just be a fun like building experiment.
Yes. And as Steve mentioned in kind of the preview, week 1, it's just your 99 commons and your 1 uncommon commander deck. Week 2, you get to upgrade only uncommons, right? And you cannot touch your commander, right? Week 3, you can upgrade your commander to rares and mythic and uncommon, so similar to week 2. Week 4 and 5 are similar as far as you can upgrade rares and mythics throughout your entire deck. And then week 6 is where you actually transform what you've got. Hopefully you're building up there as you go into the finished product, like a decent commander deck.
Well, and I think a lot of the other approach with this is like, say you have a play group that doesn't necessarily want to spend a ton of money on commander decks. This kind of makes it a little bit easier as far as like finding cards that you actually want to put in your deck, because you're almost required to like do a little bit of research. You're also kind of required to not jump in, like $300 at one time. You're essentially, parsing it out. You're like, I'm going to spend $15 this week. I'm going to be spending $15 next week. So it makes it a little bit easier that way as well.
I liked what the initial reaction to all this, Steve, for me was like that kind of not being like pulling your punches, I guess, but starting out and then being creative. Like that's what I really like. I mean, I remember before I used Gatherer and stuff, I used to just flip through binders and like, you know, you can just go through it and just say, okay, I like these cards, like make a list, go from there, cut it down, like figure out how expensive they are, go from there. Like,
well, and there used to be a great sense of discovery when you do that. Now it's a little less. It's too streamlined in a lot of ways because you just go to EDH Rec and you're just like, okay, well, I'm building this guy. Here are the top 10 cards that I need for this, and I feel like that's taken a lot of creativity out of Commander at this point because I mean, it's so easy to just go on there and find. I do it. I'm guilty of it 100%.
It's a great tool, but I think to capture that, and I think everybody should try it. Like, and this is a perfect way to do it. I don't think anybody's familiar with commons and uncommons that are good. I'm certainly not. Like, and I run
it's a little bit harder,
yeah, big time. Like that's being creative and not costing you a whole lot and having a good time. Like, we always used to talk about the power level at the shop too. Like, that's one thing that kind of ebbs and flows, and probably in your play group, doing something creative like this is really easy. Like an easy way to kind of tone things down for a little bit. You know. So
and we might as well flip over to the second slide here. This is essentially the point structure that we figured out. We're going to give this a shot in Season 1 and see if it really works. We may have to do some adjustments, and as always, if you have any suggestions, shoot them to us. This is a big experiment for us, and we want to make it as entertaining as we can. So obviously we won't be doing this, and let's talk about it. Look forward to these videos in the Commander Challenge playlist, essentially. They'll start showing up there eventually. We'll probably actually make its own playlist at some point. So be excited for this. I'm excited for this. But we'll break into the point structure here.
So an uncommon upgrade costs a single point. A rare upgrade is 3 points, and then a mythic upgrade is 5. The ways to get that are following. So like every game, everybody gets 10 points, essentially, just for playing. There's a number of things that occur that you can do yourself that might just happen. You know, ways the game ends can award points as well. So you can see defeating a player is worth 2 points. Game's winner, you know, first place gets an additional 5, second gets 3, third and fourth get 2. So even if you're like losing focus
back,
even if you lose your match, you're still going to get at least 12 points. You know, if you deal first blood, you get a point. Casting your commander, you get a point for the first time. Playing your 15th land, casting your commander from 5 or more times, you get a point there. Winning a game, I like that one, without casting your commander, earns you 2, which is pretty sweet. Defeating 2 or more players in a turn gets you 2 extra points. Defeating a player with commander damage, also 2 points there. Steve brought up some kind of negatives too, because I think these are kind of unfun things in how we play. You lose points if you search your deck for too long with a tutor or something, and you lose points for infinite combos if you go like more than 4 iterations through the combo to like complete that.
You start losing a point essentially for each loop that you do it past 3. So.
Yeah, so you could like deal infinite damage or gain infinite mana like 3 times, not really, but you know. And I think that does keep it a little bit more
tame
and
because
cool.
Otherwise what stops you from just like building a combo deck and then getting the 6 points each time.
And then so, and also to even this out, again, this is kind of experimental, the player with the least amount of overall points goes first in the game, just to kind of give them a little bit of an advantage. And then we got a house rule for Greg at the bottom.
Yeah.
So
we'll probably add some more house rules as we go on.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm definitely
sure every time Lauren says heart of the cards or anything like that, we'll dock him a point or something if he ever gets on. You know, no Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic.
Oh well, I mean, they're close enough.
I'm
just kidding.
No.
But like, you know, and as Steve mentioned, one of the things we used to kind of do a points league like this.
Yeah.
And we had a good number of achievements. Like one was if you have like, you know, flush as far as power and toughness on the board, or, you know, you play a spell that starts with A, then one that starts with B, then C. If you can keep that going, you get a point, or, you know, all sorts of stuff like that.
And you know, that was great in the league. And the only hard part about any of this really implementing is just keeping track of it.
Remembering it,
because it can get pretty hairy, and there's always the opportunity for somebody to come in and say they got points when they didn't actually get points, or you know, vice versa. This player didn't get these points. You know,
luckily it's on camera, so we could be like, oh yeah, they did cast their commander 5 times that game. You know?
I think it'll be a little bit easier for us, especially because there'll only be 4 players ever, and you know, like I said, one of our main things that we want to develop here is like a series, and we want to do something, you know, different from what other people are doing, but still something that's like the same enough, or what am I trying to say? Similar enough to be entertaining, and that's where we're at, really. And
I think this is very close to where, like you said, how we approached deck building before, and kind of in our challenge vein. Like, you see something, it's just we're not dealing with a new release, you know.
Yeah.
You say, I like this commander, I'm going to play it, and build around it, you know.
Well, yeah, and obviously, you know, we get a lot of good feedback and support for our challenge videos as far as, like, when new sets come out and blah, 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 and, like, even, like, our summit videos and stuff like that. This is just something else that we want to add to it and make it even more, you know, entertaining.
Yeah.
Even more fun, so, yeah. I don't know. I think I think we've talked about it.
Yeah, kind of a shorter episode, but if you guys have stuck with us, we've had some long ones recently, in my opinion, but, you know, they've been good.
It's been a light week on news as far as like MTG.
It truly has.
A few things happening as far as like I think we're getting ready to do an episode about Arena here pretty soon, just because it's starting to look really interesting. What was the other thing we talked about? Oh, art. Yeah, we're still putting together our art episode. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to take a little bit of time, but when we do get there, we are going to really just gush over some masterpieces. Yeah. But anyway, I'd say we talked about it, and we will definitely see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, give us your feedback and let us know about this idea. Let us know if you try this idea out. You know, if you want to take all this information and try it out and give us some feedback as far as like, oh, it worked, or oh, it's terrible, you need to change this and this. We're always looking for that because we'll be experimenting with it as well. But with that, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.